So much. 5 o'clock is.
At 5:58.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, the basics, if you want me to do it.
Do you want me to go like, I wouldn't think. It's not right.
Do you want me to do it? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then for next time.
Yeah.
It just, and watch how I summarize things. Not that I'm getting a number, but I might miss something.
To go to the snow removal.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
8 to 10 inches.
6 to 10.
Thursday, yeah, depending on which forecast you're looking at.
Wednesday.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I always say I'll believe it when I see it.
Same.
Yep.
I'm not gonna get myself excited because I like big snowstorms.
And I'll believe it when I see it, good or bad.
yeah.
Well, it depends what your definition of bad is,
Well,
right?
that's true.
My definition of good is stick to the, if we get at least 6 and I'm looking for 10. That may be your definition of bad.
Stuff like
If you're gonna have 6, you might as well have 10 at that
That's
point.
what I'm saying,
That's what I
right?
think too. Totally agree.
Snow or don't snow, you know? Be winter or don't be winter.
See, when they come down my street, I'm on River Ridge. Edmond Way comes up into my street. Just a little bit to the right of my driveway. So they come down Edmond Way and make the curve. But they never come back to do from my mailbox down to the end of the street. They forget that.
Hey, Jay.
I always figured I picked the wrong profession. I should have been a weatherman. It's the only job out there where you can be right a third of the time and be a god.
There's one more. An economist.
Yes.
Nice.
I agree with you. I always say that too.
But an economist, you always have an out. If you're an economist, you just say, no. It behaved as if this were true.
The weather guys have an
You
out
assume
too.
your way out of it.
But the weather guys have an out too. They're not really in control, are they? Neither are the economists. That's what
True.
they, yeah.
Quite true.
Especially these days.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
We
All
are
right,
ready.
we will come to order. We will stand for our pledge of
Everyone
allegiance.
rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have the roll call. Mr. McConnell, please.
Yes. Commissioner Weinfeld,
Here,
Commissioner Bradley is absent. Commissioner Schweitzer is observing by TV. Commissioner Mudry,
here,
Commissioner Meadow,
here.
Commissioner McConnell is here. Vice Chair Kaczynski
Here.
and Chair Hunt Proctor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next is approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Correspondence, we have no additional correspondence, correct?
There's been no additional correspondence since the packet went out on Friday.
Thank you very much. And then old business, we have none. Public hearings, Mr. McConnell.
Yeah, we have site plan review number PFSP 2025-0002. Martin Property Development Incorporated. Construct addition to parking lot at 2510 Snow Road.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wojak.
So I'm gonna provide a summary of the overview. So Hope did prepare all this information, did all the research and everything. I'm gonna walk you through just a summary of our staff memo that is in the meeting packet. So the project site is so Dave's playing visual DJ for us. So on the screen is 2510 Snow Road. It's south of, do you have a map that shows, do we have a map that shows a bigger context? I guess not. Oh, there we go. Yeah, thanks, Dave. So south of St. Joseph Highway. And sorry, it's 135,000 or 200 and almost 270,000 square foot industrial building. Right now, there are one tenant in the building, Palmer Donovan, and a new tenant is coming in called Temper Pack. They're a packaging manufacturer. So they basically divide the building into two tenants. So Temper Pack would be taking that western half of the building, and there are improvements slated to the building to accommodate that new tenant, specifically the addition of 140 new parking spaces. So Dave has the new plan, the proposed plan on the overhead right now. It consists of the project scope entails the widening of the two drives that go out to Snow Road. Those will require part of your purview, but ultimately will need Eaton County Road Commission approval. The plan has been sent to their office for consideration, provided some preliminary comments. But it should be, for the applicant, it should be as easy as getting those permits. Where this comes into play is there is a ordinance, sorry, just gonna give him a chance to talk if he needs to talk.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just want to give him a chance to get you if he needed to. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So the two drives, we have addition of about 140 parking spaces on the far western side of the site. And then there is some work on detention basins on the far southwest and the northwest corners of the site. So that's the project scope in a nutshell. The reason it's in front of you today is it exceeds the 25% maximum threshold for an administrative approval. So we could do this under administrative site plan. However, there's limitation on it has to be 25% or less of the parking that's on the site now to be able to do it administratively. They are over that, so it has to come to you. And then the process, if the planning commission were to grant approval of the site plan, the process would go to our staff approval, which ultimately has my final approval as a zoning administrator. So our team is reviewing the rest of it right now. And so that'll be the second phase of this. The important things to note here are there is some utility work that's being reviewed by our engineering and utilities departments. We do not have feedback on that yet, but that'll be a part of their review. There are some light poles that are just being moved for the construction. The important point is that lighting is exempt in industrial zoning, so there's no specific standards for intensity or anything related to that. So now we're back to just parking, which is really the biggest aspect of this project. So it's a warehouse project. So the warehouse developments in general are based on the number of employees. So the site plan has 95 employees in the largest shift. So it'll require a minimum of 48 parking spaces. They're proposing to construct 140 new ones. 6 of those are going to be ADA accessible. Overall, the total parking on the site would be 325 spaces, and those are all car spaces. There's also 70, I believe, truck spaces on the site. So the addition is for car park spaces, not truck spaces. So the review criteria is noted in the staff memo. There really isn't anything significant that we brought up. This project we don't have any particular issues on this outside of, as I noted before, that the Eaton County Road Commission has to approve the drives. They are showing the 24-foot wide access lane around the rear of the building, which is the minimum that's required for zoning and for the fire department. So that is one of the primary considerations is reviewing this project. Talked about that. The new door detention basins will require approval from the Eaton County Drain Office, so that we have not gotten comments from them back, right? So we haven't gotten, we'll get comments and that will be incorporated in any final approvals. And the last thing is, and if the applicant saw the staff memo, we can talk about this further. The township is requesting a 14-foot wide easement along the frontage of Snow. There isn't a pathway necessarily planned at this time, but what we're trying to do is acquire those easements well beforehand. And then if a pathway, it makes the possibility of a pathway that much more, but the potential that much greater. So that is included in here. So we have a draft motion and then there are 10 conditions on the project. Nothing outside of that road easement or that pathway easement, nothing else really significant that would raises any red flags on our team. So the applicant is here tonight, Jason Burnett from Martin Commercial Properties and AJ Patrick from Kebs, the engineer on the project. They want to have, if you have any questions for them.
Commissioners,
Madam Chair,
um,
question for staff. Does this additional parking require creation of additional impervious surface?
Yes, yeah, no, it's new parking.
Yeah. They're expanding the impervious surface.
Okay, I see some. I see something under data required for site plan. The ratio of total surface to impervious surface. Is that a consideration in this particular one?
Well, there's no limit, so our ordinance limits the amount of building, for whatever reason, lot coverage in Delta is building coverage. It's not impervious total. So we have a max on building coverage, but not on total impervious surface. Right. So it's a consideration in terms of the site functioning and more for the drain office probably to review as for stormwater runoff than it is for the planning commission.
Well, it would be a concern of us if we were concerned about creating a
Certainly.
impervious surface.
Yep.
Okay.
I have,
Madam Chair,
yes,
is it reasonable to assume that the additional detention that's being added would serve all of the parking area, including the additional impervious surface that's being added for parking?
I would defer to the applicant
Yeah.
to answer that appropriately.
we have to open the public hearing. by-
AJ Patrick from Kebs.
Excuse me.
I guess we need to open a public hearing.
Unless there's any questions for us first.
So you deferred to him, so
Hmm?
that's why.
Oh, that's right. This is not a public, yeah, we're not actually having a public hearing. It's just a site plan. I don't like just a site plan. It's a site plan. So we don't have public hearings for site plan review.
You listed it as a public hearing on the document.
Oh, did we? Well, we should have put it on our other business, I guess.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, state your name, company for the
You're
record,
okay,
please.
okay. You're not on the record.
AJ Patrick with Kebs Incorporated, the civil engineer site. The new detention ponds covers all of the new proposed asphalt. There was an existing drive that was back there and some of the roof drains of the building dumps into that area. He would be collecting what was originally going to the front pond in the back. We now have two smaller detention ponds. It's collecting all of that, treating, storing, discharge. The original detention, we're not touching, but we've taken some drainage away from it. So it's actually has additional storage there. Not.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
while you're up there.
Yep.
What's the rationale for the additional parking?
The new user.
So the new, I'm Jason Burnett with Martin Property Development. The new tenant looking to come to the building is a manufacturer and they're on the west side of the building. So the building's 270,000 feet. They're looking west portion of it and On their biggest shift, they will have 35 employees in the building. So there's not a lot of parking on that side of the structure. Most of the vehicular parking is on the east side where the other tenant is. So we're looking to provide more parking in closer proximity to the actual manufacturing process.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not sure who I'm going to ask this from, but I think presently you have one entrance and one exit. Now we're new configuration, is it going to be in and out with both of them?
Correct. That's why we're widening at the 30 feet. So we have in and out on both sides. So currently the truck traffic in theory is supposed to enter on the north side and then go around the building and exit on the south side. Since we're creating the vehicular parking on the west side, we're looking to have not have the truck traffic go around where the car parking is for safety purposes. So we'll have signs that they put up for no truck traffic. The Palmer Donovan tenant, they don't even use. They actually enter their trucks and actually drive into the building, unload them, and then drive out. We put ramps in 2 years ago, I believe. And then the new tenant, they'll receive product on the north side, so they'll enter and exit from the north side, and then their shipping side is on the south side of the way. Offload.
It's going to all work out. Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, further questions, comments? The pleasure of the commission.
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
You don't have to.
Oh, we don't have to.
I thought so. Too. We don't have to.
We're having a heck of a.
Oh, we didn't.
We don't have to.
Okay.
We don't have.
Madam Chair, I do have one question. With the increased amount of parking, does that increase the number of handicap spots we need?
They did add, yeah, they're adding 6 in with the new spaces.
Very good.
Is there a rule of thumb for how many parking spaces you have, how many handicap spaces you have to have?
I bet AJ knows it off the top of his head. I don't, but I could find it.
I believe it's 1 for the first 20. Goes up 50. But there is a chart.
Okay, thank you.
I thought it was correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners.
No, one last question. So if I did a count, you want 140 spaces, you need 48 plus 75. That's
So the number on the plan is, I think you need 1 parking space for every 2 on max on a shift. That's would meet the minimum code. The tenant knows that they will have more use than just the 1 parking space per 2 employees. And with their shift overlap, they have their current facility, their parking lot is full. So they're counting for additional parking during that shift overlap as people are coming in and getting ready for their shift and people leave, so that they don't have, they don't have people waiting for people to leave to be able to get. That's why we're providing well more than actually needed.
okay.
And just as a reminder, there is no, in other zoning districts, we have a maximum established of parking, max parking that you can, percentage of the required that you can't exceed. That is not the case in industrial zoning.
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right.
I move that the planning commission approve the site plan to expand the parking lot at 2510 Snow Road, parcel number 040-026 200-12701, subject to the following stipulations, of which there are 10.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Open.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Miss-
I'll address the applicants really briefly. So we have this, we've already submitted this plan to our other township departments for comments, and those should be forthcoming. And at that point, I think we actually got comments back from our engineering department already,
No, not
right?
this
Oh, not this one. Okay. So we'll get them back soon and you'll hear from us and we'll wrap it up with a letter, approval letter. Or potentially comments for changes, but if anything, it would be probably minimal from them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, other business, master plan update process.
Yes, I'll take this one as well. So I'm excited to bring this to the group. And so we have at its last meeting, the township board did approve a $103,000 contract with OHM to support our team to produce a new master plan. And I mean, since this group knows this, I mean, we're gonna build off a little bit of what the previous consultant. So back in 2018, you guys had started a process with McKenna. And some of that we are gonna be building off of, so it won't be, I don't wanna make that as a total loss. But we are gonna kind of take that, build on it and move in a little bit different direction. So in your meeting packet is the RFP or the scope document that OHM prepared for us. Our team reviewed it, had just a couple changes, but the board saw it at their meeting last Monday and approved the contract with them for us to move ahead. So that's good news. At least we have a consultant, we've got a scope of work ready to move forward. The $50,000 of that is going to be paid for out of that housing readiness incentives grant that we have. So if we're watching the pocketbook, it's going to be half of what that total contract will be, which is good news. This is a little bit different from, I don't remember how far I've gotten my explanation of my vision for the master plan. But what I was hoping to talk today is about how we could best work together on this. What you would like to see, and I can propose kind of what I was thinking, and then I'd like to hear some feedback if that's possible. But in a nutshell, the RFP is very utility focused. And the reason we selected OHM is really utility focused because one of the constraints on development in general is going to be sewer capacity. I think we talked generally about some utility projects or one specific utility project around the interstate corridor over here that's going to unlock some development sites and that's parts of 3 different drainage districts. I'm getting better with some of the utility language, but that's going to provide some relief. But there are still areas of the township, particularly I think around the Carrier Creek drain, that are going to be constrained potentially in perpetuity, barring a very significant investment in an upgrade to the Carrier Creek. Again, my expertise on drainage and utility infrastructure is pretty limited, but I mean, I do understand that part of it. And that so what we're hoping to do is to have a plan that really kind of lays that all out for us. If the township can grow, does the township want to grow? If the township does, if that is a goal of the community, where is that possible? And given the unique constraints, in this case, I think we would need to laser focus on specific geographic areas that are actually ready and have the infrastructure to handle it. So again, that's a lot of words we're trying to back into some density numbers based on limits of our systems. But at the same time, kind of map out like what are those upgrades and how much do they cost and kind of paint the picture that if certain upgrades were to happen, what the impacts to potential land use could be in the future. So we're at a very early stage of this. We are going to establish at some point a steering committee. We have not talked internally about what exactly that looks like, but I think in any scenario, it includes members of the planning commission. And certainly the document itself would run through this group. So I have not yet had a kickoff meeting with the consultant. That is imminent, but I wanted to talk about like what this process has been like in the past, what you'd like to see. What I was envisioning was bringing the drafts to the group for input, review, and then us being, between members of this group that would be on the steering committee and our staff being the conduit to make sure that those changes get represented in whatever draft document that we're working on. And then certainly some of the work on developing goals and building off the previous plan, but developing our goals and objectives and building out the future land use map. No, with the data, and that's the process is gonna be a little bit different from a typical master plan, but a lot of that is gonna be in responsive to the data that points that OHM identifies. Again, I don't know what that's gonna look like necessarily yet, but what I'm envisioning is a map that shows, well, this is an area that, you know, whatever, I'm being, I'm kind of talking about things I don't necessarily know right now, but it's gonna take $100 million to do the improvements in this one particular area. So the low density designation here is appropriate. In some area, maybe there is capacity that we may be able to identify, and that could be a candidate. And again, that's a political land use decision on whether or not we would consider other residential districts with higher densities. Just looking at our zoning districts in general about providing whether they would go from a higher residential to maybe a multifamily category, that kind of thing. So that was kind of how I was envisioning sharing things with the group, and with the idea also that a member, however many members that we can incorporate into the steering committee. So I'm interested in kind of the conversations, if there are any, obviously, I wasn't a part of the master plan process before, back in 2018, but if there were any issues at that point things that we want to avoid, things that we liked about it. I just wanted to kind of open this up for some feedback.
Commissioner.
Are they doing focus groups? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things identified for public input. They've got focus groups, they've got meetings with the board, I'm sure meetings here, they've got several public meetings, they're gonna do an online survey. That's just what's in the scope document. I would imagine we're gonna flesh that out. And I did commit to our township board that I would come back to them with a public engagement plan at some point in the near future. So yes, those are all on the table, both whether they're focus groups, but also large public meetings.
There's, I don't have a solution, but I know it's a consistent problem. Is getting a representative group to participate in the process. And always people in the township who come out, almost anything, but they don't necessarily represent the whole township. So if there could be some way of somehow showing that we're stratifying the people that the grouping that we call on,
Mhm.
so that we can get as much, because there's a fairly significant older demographic
Yeah,
in the
right.
township. May not come out for stuff, but so that would be my only concern as the process goes forward.
Mhm.
I concur with the input points.
I guess I forgot I left this out, but a lot of the housing component of this is in response to not only the grant, the grant was a little ahead of the House bill. So the housing readiness grant actually requires us, at least the way that I wrote the grant, requires this focus on housing and utilities. There was then a House bill that was passed that requires master plan updates to include housing as a core component of the update. Just housing in general, look at the housing market, that kind of thing. I think it's still to be determined exactly how that manifests, but so this should check those boxes for us. It's responsive to that new law.
Yeah, in looking at this, specifically looking at task 2.1 existing conditions analysis, that seems to be a fairly comprehensive list, absent one thing. I don't see a point on there for review and consideration of the zoning ordinance, which obviously could be either a boon or an impediment to whatever other plans may happen. So
Yeah.
I would suggest adding that in for their consideration.
Okay, thanks. I did, just anecdotally, I had talked to the staffer from OHM about, I would really like a zoning action plan to come out of this document. A master plan is all well and good, but it's like, what can we actually do with it? I don't want, and that's bad trope at this point of you don't want the plan to sit on the shelf, but I would like some action items to identify in this. I'm told that that's kind of wrapped up in, that maybe it's included in here, but not noted, but that will be more specifically actually noted in future documents.
Yeah, as a work product, that would be very helpful.
Further discussion? Yes.
Now, David, you were around here when we did this the last time. Are you going to have some input in this also?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we're part of the team.
Yep.
Okay, you got some ideas that like to, okay, thank you. And I'm sure Hope does also.
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry if I'm speaking, I don't mean to speak for the whole, but yes, our whole team will be involved.
Oh.
I've been taking the lead on just getting it started.
Okay,
Just getting the process going to get in the process of actually working with this consultant, but our team will be with us at every step.
Further
Thank you.
discussion? Any action?
There's no action at this point. At some point, I will probably be asking a couple of you to join the steering committee. And that's hard to, you don't know the commitment yet. I don't either. So I'll come back to you when I have a better idea of what that entails. So I just don't know yet. There are several meetings identified, at least in this initial document. So I'll have more information on what that means, and you can just have them make a more informed decision at a future meeting.
Will there be a focus group of the planning committee?
I would hope so, yeah. We're at some point I was hoping it was gonna be in the next week or two here, slated to have a kickoff meeting with the consultant where we kind of flesh these tasks out further. Cause I have a lot of other people that are asking about it as well, so. So I'll plan to keep this as a recurring item on the agendas if it makes sense. I mean, if there's no update, I can take it off, but we'll just keep you in the loop on this. And I want to proceed kind of all of us together and then not just be necessarily, a planning department project, and I don't want the planning commission to get left out of it either with the focus on utilities, because all of this is incredibly important. And there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. I'm looking at this as kind of a watershed moment. There are a lot of different things kind of coming together, a lot of projects. I mean, there's a lot of big projects on the corridor and, at some point CATA might be making a push for to extend, Route 3 is here temporarily and there may be a millage ask at some point. So I would definitely consider the re-envisioning of West Saginaw corridor as a big component of this. And whether or not higher density zoning along the corridor, at least in the commercial part of it, makes any sense. Or if not only does it, whether it's a political or land use decision, but can we service people if they were to build it?
Anything else? There being nothing else, we'll move on to project updates.
Oh, that's me too. I was just gonna go over a couple quick things. One, the self-storage zoning amendment did get adopted by the township board. So that is now, so there self-storage facilities not allowed in C2 zoning. The current facilities can exist and will continue to exist, and in some cases they can expand, but we would not accept new applications in C2 zoning for self-storage facilities. The Shell station that this group approved the special land use permit for at the last meeting, just over here, the Shell station nearby where we are now, has not yet gone to the board. The owner was not available to take it to the board. They're on vacation or something. So we don't have an answer on that, but it's scheduled for next Monday at the board. The courtyard at Delta, it's a mix of assisted and senior living care on Marketplace Boulevard, is having a public grand opening tomorrow. But they are otherwise open and operational, so that's a big change. The Michigan Department of Transportation continues to look at doing a project on the high between Interstate 9669 to Broadbent in that general area. We had a corridor improvement authority meeting in this room at 4 o'clock today. And we talked big picture on that. It would be resurfacing and potentially a boulevard installation. However, what it actually will end up being, we don't know. That's what they're funded for, and that's what I've learned about MDOT projects, and I'm sure of you maybe probably know well more than I do. That's kind of what they are scoped to do, and they can't stray too far from that. And initially I had thought, well, who knows what, they're gonna develop design options and who knows where this is going, but I think it's going in a very specific direction. So we do have a consultant, or the CIA board / township has a consulting engineer on our team to help vet any alternatives and also to keep them, to review the MDOT materials, to ensure they're looking at the broadest scope of things and, everything related to that project to kind of keep them on task and keep our team informed and to have a seat at that table. And so we're all speaking the right language. So that we had one kickoff meeting in December before Christmas. And there's a local advisory group that's been established just to facilitate comments on that team. Commissioner Mudry is a part of that, both as his role on the planning commission and as a county commissioner. The other two county commissioners, they have districts along the highway are also part of the team. There's a pretty significant group of people that are on this local advisory group. So we meet again in February. So we'll have more on that. I just want to keep you abreast of what's going on with that. It's still slated for 2028, so we have some time, but I would expect the design team to come up with alternatives here soon. So you may see that on a future agenda. If anything, just for comments. We'll have 2 vacancies on the planning commission. So member Schweitzer is not going to be reappointed, or is selected not to be reappointed, to be really clear, as Commissioner Weinfeld. So we'll have 2 openings, I think, at the end of March. So if you know anybody that might be a good member of the team, please, you can send it to me. You can send them to the township website to fill out the public service application.
Say
However,
March, like
this,
next
like next
month,
month, March. Yeah. So I don't think we have a queue of like a queue of people that are lined up for it. It's been a very, for all kinds of reasons, it's been a very challenging time to find board and commission volunteers. So yeah, if you do knew of anybody that's interested, please send them our way.
I'll just double the pay.
Yeah.
I'll run you through my development list. I don't have a handout here. I've been in meetings a good chunk of today, so I haven't had a chance to print, but I will get this out to you. The biggest things on my radar, this is just more fun updates, and some of this you probably already know, but like I mentioned, the courtyard at Delta, that's 85 new senior assisted and independent living units. King's Wings is filling the space that Canton is in. They're on West St. Joe at Kreitz. Northwest corner there, there's a Sir Pizza and
Next to Subway. and
yeah.
Mars.
so there was so King Wings is wings, more wings. But it was formerly a Chinese restaurant. Anna's House has filed at least interior demo permits to start work on their building here in the PFCU shopping center. That's on West Saginaw, west of the highway. So they continue to say they're coming. We're a year into that, but we've got permits behind it at this point now. Pete Away is still planning on moving into the former Incredible space there on West Saginaw, just west of Waverly on the north side of the road, but they're not open yet. The Pizza Hut I hear open today, in the former Nature's Cure space on West Saginaw on the south side of the road. So there's one building with 2 tenants, and so Pizza Hut's the westernmost tenant, but it's
Is that takeout only?
takeout only. So no Galaga, no red cups, no stained glass. And then you probably heard, or I may have said it, Sultan's is taking over the Zaytoon building. I'm hearing late February is the last thing I've been talking to the one guy, so.
I'm gonna go bang on the door when I see construction people there, cause
Yeah.
it was supposed to be after Thanksgiving, then it was supposed to be late January, so. Just wondering, I'm gonna be a great addition,
Yeah,
you know.
I have been.
You did the same thing for Olive Garden, didn't you?
No,
Banging on the
that
door?
was your constituent.
That was my wife.
Yeah. She's a constituent.
And everybody was lined up for Popeye, so.
So I continue to call them when they don't think I'm a telemarketer, if I can get through to somebody, when they say, I'm from Delta Township, and it's just like, are you ordering lunch? Horrocks, if you see, the walls are now up on the bathroom project over at Horrocks, so that's good. I have not been inside to see the coffee sales area. I think that's supposed to be set up at some point this month, so that's good. And I mentioned the whole pizza gelato swap, that it doesn't appear to have happened yet. Dick's Warehouse sale is down the way here. Its rebranding is going, gone. So if you see a sign change over there, you'll know that's still Dick's Warehouse that is rebranded. And those are probably the biggest things, though. On West Saginaw, at least, Jiffy Lube is still under construction, if you see that. The Best Buy is under construction over here at Delta Crossings. The Bass Pro Shop site plan is still in our office, awaiting comments. And there's some handful of things that they have to do to move that project forward. And they've been given great detail on what that is. So that's moving along. Those are the biggest projects on our radar. The tailgaters broke ground that you saw a few times earlier in the last year. So that's under construction. Here's now.
Are we marketing the big lots in Burlington?
They are being marketed. I mean, I keep it on my radar to tell people if they're looking, but I haven't heard of any hits on it yet.
And the Delta Patrol Station is now.
Yes, the Delta Patrol Station opened 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that it have a long and fruitful relationship with the county and then have that building occupied, but that's a really nice facility. We've already had a couple meetings over there.
Yeah, for reference on the Delta Patrol building, one really neat thing that they incorporated. And if it happens, or you know anybody that it's relevant to, is they pulled the e-commerce transition inside the building. So it's
Safer.
much more secure and out of the weather and everything else, which I thought was a great feature, you know, because I know a lot of people use that for e-commerce transactions.
So as of now, we don't have anything queued up for the next meeting on the 24th. So I can send official correspondence on that, but unless someone has a compelling reason to meet, otherwise, we don't have any policy initiative. I hate to just cancel meetings. I mean, I like to kind of feed things, but we don't have any official requests. We don't have any policy initiatives queued up right now. So I can send a note around this week to just officially cancel that meeting if that works. Any other questions for me or the planning team?
Questions?
Move to adjourn.
All right.
Support.
Moved and supported. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.